Oh yes, it's reading you for me.
Oh yes, it's radiating you for me. It's radiating.
Ooh's on the other side of that looking glass.
I'm glad.
Ooh's gonna decide if their pain will last. To the slave, any demon that demonstrated the word before the word is run in front of the sword. For this the life, the at the best, the for the blood, for the heart, for the rivers, the dam, falling for the waters and rapidly repeating acts. Seems significantly in signals and line lay upon the hub, holding a doubt on the tip of the tongues, dropping habits and business to have of the holding of which your possessions succession over the season, your easing your reasons to exchange your proposal like a former. Modified for the fleet, fled and not for the fed up with the UPS and this the ups and packages and the packed with the age. Story first in mind, cool enough to firepower your outdated energy source and force with the depleted deployment for intention for detention without attempts to the sea. Seeing everything senseless and more to doubt. Due to death, the deprivation, the privately pride. What's needed to say for the hear for the sound.
I mean, I could choose like days I feel like.
So that looks glass. Ooh's gonna decide their pain will last. To the slave, any demon that demonstrated the word before the word is run in front of the sword. For lips, the life, the at the best, the for the blood, for the heart, for the rivers, the dam, falling for the waters and rapidly repeating acts. Seems significantly in signals and line lay upon the holding a doubt on the tip of the tongues, dropping habits and business to have of the holding of which your possessions succession over the season, your easing your reasons to exchange your proposal like a former. Modified for the fleet, fled and not for the fed up with the UPS and this the ups and packages and the packed with an age. Story first in mind, cool enough to firepower your outdated energy source and force with the depleted deployment for intention for attention without attempts to the sea. Seeing everything senseless and more to doubt. Due to death, the deprivation, the privately pride. What's needed to say for the hear for the sound. Success full of the appetizers and food for thought. Bob with the EBT for the less of the death, for the distributed ballot for the bill, for the advertising adversity, and your time for the clown, for the city councilman, for the countries. Lost to ride the rivalries. Variables unable to reinstate your reign. Power low for the standard to sit up on the subject. Objectively for the inject your opinions imposing without a voice. Couldn't lift words like helium to hell's gate negating on the fate and fatal. And trash in a cultivator for the tragic deformed.
That looking glass. Ooh's gonna decide if their pain will last. To the slave, any demon that demonstrated the word before the word is run in front of the sword. For lips, the life, the at the best, the for the blood, for the heart, for the rivers, the dam, falling for the waters and rapidly repeating acts. Seems significantly in signals of line lay, holding a doubt on the tip of the tongues, dropping habits and business to have of the holding of which your possession succession over the season, your easing your reasons to exchange your proposal like a former. Modified for the fleet, fled and not for the fed up with the UPS and this the ups and packages and the packed with the age. Story first in mind, cool enough to firepower your outdated energy source and force with depleted deployment for intention for detention without attempts to the sea. Seeing everything senseless and more to doubt. Due to death, the deprivation, the privately pride. What's needed to say for the hear for the sound. Success full of for the appetizers and food for thought. Bob with the EBT for the rest of the death, for the distributed ballot for the bill, for the advertising adversity, and yours are for the clown, for the city councilmen, for the countries. Lost to ride the rivalries, variables unable to reinstate your reign. Power low for the standards to sit up on the subject. Objectively for the inject your opinions imposing without a voice. Couldn't lift words like helium to hell's gate negating when on the fate and fatal. The trash in a cultivator for the tragic to farm your bear for themselves and exclusively. Lucifer's and lucid dreams by lucid delays the place of this way down. Gravity that holds that over the consciousness for the valley for the disvalidate your permit. Park in dark places and fearful can't read the signs and ticking your clock. No patience on the patterns, the paper you black in the back of the baby, the burps and this the bibs and bibs and dibs and the nipple for the nipple with the area of the heart to find and tell the difference apart from just a part of the evolution, not the evil pollution that takes the breath. Wait for the smell of nose and no better under eyes, the middle for the midst, amendments for the adamant, for the dormant, for the atmosphere, for free bullets and action, alternate actions. To be cursed, the price and the payback. Back pay of ancestral, celestial stardom from how far we come for the time of the light. The heavy hours to make up the baby, the ugly face, no memory okay with the virtue for the miscarriage and miscarrying all across the land. Near cited for the citation they were seen for the love before the judgment court. Spouses that was predestined for the marriage and never the marriage of her age. Wait for the time when that become a death for the unbinding for the books and gathering the currency for all the money for the rich and the unharmony. Now, delete. Leading up for the Armageddon for the human body. You had a chance without the doubt for death, for the deprived for the death, and the rival for the arrivals of lovers, the love of the blanket for the blank stares, the air for that, the rain's king. Coming for the forefathers, and whatever you forget about, for the just to be the only for the crossing like the top of cathedrals, you get your point across the path, and ladder, one for ladder, for Jacobs and brothers, that was sheep, the shepherd, from the enterprise, and with the falling angels. Lost less. Coming for the first to the second, for the aged, for the agitated, for the not for the legitimate, for the base, for the recent, for the relatively relationships and waters that will dehydrate or dye their colors that aren't black and white for the mornings, and which he saw for the distant, he defined and meet the gates and the reap with the sheep. Slaughterhouse of the spouse of the Bible, the spout of the beef, for the plants of the feather, for the cows of the lift, for the wings, and the fly you back to the wind, for the source of the side, and the fire beneath, which grounds you up, so shivering for the sympathy is only the payment. They're meant to be the word for the truth the deep inside of you, for the been waiting get over to discover your truth is never deserving of what you have to offer for the. Tell
say like I experienced. Say this. But probably what the teachings say, I do experience that world, or I know of it too. Though in different ways. Sometimes it's just like reminders, not so much not throwing you, but you're in there. I'm talking about it vaguely because that could be in reference to a lot of stuff. So I'll just say that I have experienced that. I think that's how I'll say it. And I know of it. even if it's not at the same degree. In general, it's an experience to say that. In general. Yeah, just like everyone else a bit like. Probably what the teachers say. I do experience that world, or I know of it too. So in different ways. Sometimes it's just like not so much throwing you're in there. I'm talking about it vaguely because that could be in reference to a lot of stuff. So just say that I have experienced that. I think that's how I'll say it. It's not like a consistent awareness of it.
Slay of any demon that demonstrated the word before the word that would run in front of the sword for lips alive, for the act, the best of that, for the blood, for the heart, for the rivers, the dam, falling for the waters, and rapidly repeating acts. Significantly in signals upholding in doubt on the tip of the tongues, dropping habits and bits of the habit, the holding of what your possessions in session over the season, your easily the reasons to exchange your like a form. Modified for the fleet, fled and after the fed up for the UPS and missed the ups and packages of the packed with the agent. Story first in mind to cool enough to firepower your outdated energy source and force with depleted deployment with intention for the tension without a consent to deceit. Seeing everything senseless and more to doubt. Due to death, the deprivation to privately pry. What's needed to say for the hear for the sound. Success full of for the appetizers and food for thought. Bar with the EBT for them less of the death. For the disability battle for the bell for the advertising adversity. And top of the clown for the city councilman for the country. Laws to ride the rivalries. Variables unable to reinstate your reign. Power lower for the standard to sit up on the subject. Objectively for the inject your opinions imposing without a voice. Couldn't lift words like helium to hellscape negating on the fate and fatal. The trash and a cultivator for the tragic to farm your bear for themselves and exclusively. In Lucifer's and lucid dreams by Lucy delays the place of this way down. Gravity to hold that orbital consciousness for the valley for the disvalidate your permit. Park in dark places and fearful can't read the signs and ticking your clock. No patience, only patterns to paper you back on the back of the baby, the burps and distant bibs and bibs and dibs on the nipple for the nipple with the area of the hard to find and tell the difference apart from just a part of the evolution, not the evil pollution that takes the breath. Wait for the smell of nose and doing better under other eyes, the middle for the mints, and mimics for the adamant, for the dormant, for the atoms tree of forbidden buds and alternate actions. To be cursed at the price of the payback. Back pay of ancestral celestial startup for how far we come for the time of the light. The heavy hours they make up the big out with the ugly face, no mirror K with the virtue for the miscarriage and miscarrying all across the land. The near sighted for the citation never seen for the love before the judge can court. Spouses that was for destiny for the marriage and never the marriage of marriage. And the union for the time and that becoming done for the unbinding for the books and your alimony and currency for all the money for the renter and their harmony. Not to lead. Leading up for the Armageddon for the you can get by with. Whether you had a chance without the doubt for death and the deprived for the death and the rival for the more rivals and lovers than love. The blanket for the blank stares, the air for that for reigns kings. Coming for the forefathers and whatever you forget about for the just to be the only for the cross and like the top of cathedrals. You get your point across the path of Adderall for ladder for Jacobs and brothers that were sheep the shepherd for the enterprise and with the falling angels. Lost less. coming, for the first to the second, for the aged, for the agitated, for the not, for the legitimate, for the basic, the recent, for the relatively relationships and waters that will dehydrate or dye their colors that aren't black and white, for the mornings and which each side for the disillusioned, find and meet the gates and the reap of the sheep. Slaughterhouse of the spouse of the Bible, and the spout of the beef, for the plants of the fed up, and the cows of the living, for the wings of the fly you back to the wind, for the source of the side, and the fire beneath, which grounds you up, so shipping for the stimulus under the payment, they meant you to be the word, for the truth the deep inside of you, for the been waiting, get over to discover your truth is never the deserving of what you have to offer for the.
Teach me your way. Teach me your coding. Teach me your, show me who made me for the seed, the sound, for the existence that I may reverb your glory. Holy Spirit, teach me to lean forward. Learn, Lord, feed me your word, pour into the cup of the fill me with your love and mercy. Speak to me and I can be familiar with the shepherd always. You loved me before I did myself. Heard me before I spoke to you, my Lord. I want to be you to the call, my Lord, to be maybe over the might for the Almighty, for the action, be in contrast to the words that doesn't give me the rocket salvation, to give the strength to this to reach your destination, the destiny to invest in your privacy. Not by your sight, by faith, but know the way is you're returning home from where I was and where I want to be, for the acronyms and synonyms, for this sin, for the righteousness, for the nest of the wings, to soar the heights, for the healing, for the feeling of the being touched, the felt, with the falling, for the rising of death, for this everlasting, never ever beginnings, and this is any for the always and forever, for your omnipresent, for the omnificent, gifted, reason to find you at the top of the mountain with the 10, sunning for the glory, for the sent, for the be done, for the earth as it is in heaven, for the sub-divine, for the separation from the truth, for the divine bear fruit. Decree for greed in your life, for the free, for the dark, for the breed, for the free, for the brave, for the run of the madness and the lamb of the lamb, the love of the realm, for the constructed city, for the Jerusalem. Makes a lot of giving care for the flock without the shepherd unto. I have reason to find you, Lord. So many times I made that love in my mind for this to be upset enough with the preferring the roses over the daisies in your entire garden, up for the own. Somebody, someday, come, fall in love, and sing a bit of it, time after time. And that true happiness and enjoy that present without the anxious and depend upon the future for what you have to amuse, for ourselves, for thee, the hope, for the fear, for the rest and dissatisfied for what we are, what we have and what we need is sufficient enough for the worst, for the wants and nothing, for the greatest blessing you have for the mankind. Within us and within ourselves and within our reach of this wise man's content, with this life, for the whatever it may be, for the what, for the wishing, for the will, the falling into the light, and for the could happen at any time. Never wanted to become, I could find, I shouldn't wait. Spark the realization for the change in your life. Just act as though you enlighten for the what you interact. Be kind and compassionate enough, recognize the suffering. Act as though your inner peace is just a natural state of for taking whatever comes and whatever is. speak to the truth because it's all that matters. You go a regular amount of business, but you can keep that for the mind, the peace, and the harmony, for the important enough, for the regular, for the goals. You can have that notice in the suffering. Compassion enough for it to become that for the everybody feeling the impact. Compassion for the suffering, for the world, and name of the peace. Reality, name for the space and the exist, and you do not exist, and then for the modes of perception. They are the only ones in time and space, and like the words written on the paper. Paper is real, the words are merely conventional.
Teach me your way.
Teach me your way. Teach me your coding. Teach me or show me who made me for to see the sound for the existence that I may reverb your glory. Holy Spirit teaching me to lean forward. Learn, Lord, feed me your word, pour into the cup of the filling with your love and mercy. Speak to me and I could be familiar with the shepherd always. You love me. Teach me your way. Teach me your coding. Teach me or show me who made me for to see the sound for the existence that I may reverb your glory. Holy Spirit teaching me to lean forward. Learn, Lord, feed me your word, pour into the cup of the filling with your love and mercy. Speak to me and I could be familiar with the shepherd always. You loved me before I did myself. Heard me before I spoke to you, my Lord. I want to be you to the call, my Lord, to be maybe or the might for the Almighty, for the action, be no contrast to the words that doesn't give me the rocket salvation, to give the strength to this, reach a destination, to destiny, to investigate your privacy. Not by your sight, by faith, but know the way is your returning home. From where I was and where do I arm to be, for the acronyms and synonyms, for this ascending, for the righteousness, for the nets, the wings, the soar, the heights, for the healing, for the feeling of the being touched, the felt, for the falling, for the rising and death.